Sea, sir?
The South China Sea is a gateway to the East. It is very rich in resources. So if China dominates the South China Sea or claims ownership as it does of what is called the 10-dash line, that means everything there belongs to it. If China is able to control the South China Sea, it will control all the shipping traffic that goes through the South China Sea, which is huge. Japan, South Korea, all of them are dependent on their island countries. They're all dependent on the sea for their trade. So China can really disrupt global trade or shape it to suit their convenience. You know, like they say, we want to reorient the existing rules-based order into one with Chinese characteristics, which means we want to dominate everything in simple English. For India, it's very important. 40% of our trade is with the East, more than 40%. So it's critical for India. We are establishing something called the Chennai-Vladivostok Maritime Corridor. That goes straight through the South China Sea. So we have to protect that. Like I said, it's not possible for any one country to protect everything of its own. So you have to work with collaborative partners. And that is why these initiatives that India has taken, like becoming a part of the Quad, we have these 2+2, foreign and defense minister dialogues with Japan, with Australia, with America. These are all aimed at establishing a sort of collaborative security framework where each one supports the other. India's policies of strategic autonomy. So we're never going to become probably part of NATO or part of a formal alliance. We'll remain a security partner. So that we can retain our strategic autonomy, but also be very much a part of the security network that is architecture that is established in those waters. China would like to control everything. So like I said, South China Sea is a core concern. Taiwan is a core concern. They are bent upon reunifying Taiwan with China. So these core concerns are non-negotiable as far as China is concerned. For them, Taiwan is a breakaway part of China. It is not an independent country. China has a one China policy. Most of the world accepts that one China policy. He doesn't say I'm going to annex Taiwan. He doesn't say I'm going to defeat Taiwan. He says I'm going to reunify Taiwan. Very nicely put. That it's already a part of us. So we're just going to reunify. But he will go to any extent to do that. The third big factor which is now coming in China, which I believe, is Xi Jinping himself. Because Xi Jinping wants to leave behind a legacy where he probably wants to be considered the greatest Chinese leader since Mao Zedong, or probably on par with Mao Zedong. For him, therefore, the South China Sea and Taiwan become very important. Now, while China may not yet be militarily ready to annex Taiwan, because, the US will come to Taiwan's aid. Japan will come to Taiwan. Japan has made it very clear that any military action in Taiwan impacts Japan directly because of its location. So it will get involved. So China militarily may not be yet in a position to forcibly annex Taiwan without getting a lot of opposition from Taiwan's allies and partners. But Xi Jinping is also getting on in years. And something like, his health or something might just preempt him into taking some action against Taiwan just to leave a legacy behind that, he did it. Because that's been his sort of cornerstone of his policies is Taiwan will be back with us, we will own South China Sea, we'll be a maritime dominant power, 2049 we'll be a fully developed country. This is all Xi Jinping's Chinese thought. Party is very important to him. He's even, put the party above the country to his armed forces. He's told his armed forces, your loyalty to the party is more important than loyalty to the country, or words to that effect. So for him, this legacy is very important. So he might do something rash, or he might do something to just sort of establish the fact that, it was he who did it. So that is something that is of concern as far as Taiwan and South China Sea and that South China Sea area is concerned. If you take it very objectively, I don't think China is militarily ready to attack Taiwan in the next 2 or 3 or 5 years. It will probably be towards the end of the decade. Perhaps. That's my personal take.
Unifying Taiwan means that they'll have a power in the South China Sea.
Of course, Taiwan is also an island in the South China Sea. They'll control that much more of the South China Sea. They already have maritime disputes with all their maritime neighbors, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, where they are literally muscling in on their waters and saying these waters are ours. They have created these artificial islands on rocks.
I was getting into.
Now, this is where I say the Americans faltered. When Xi Jinping started doing this kind of activity, America should have put its foot down at that time and not allowed it to happen. They let it happen. Islands didn't get built in a day. It must have taken months to create an island out of a rock. But they let it happen. And saying that, no, China has assured us that, this is just a sort of physical thing they're building, they're not going to militarize it and all that. Why would China want to build islands if they're not going to militarize it? And this was naive, unless there was some other reason behind it. And sure enough, China has now militarized those islands. They've got missile batteries on them. They've got runways on them. So basically, they can control, if they are able to get away with it, they will control the South China Sea totally. Who goes into the South China Sea, who comes out of the South China Sea. And that is why the US Navy repeatedly conducts what it calls freedom of navigation operations, FONOPs. It keeps sending its ships through these waters just to say that these are international waters. They don't belong to anybody. They're open seas, they're high seas, and we have freedom to navigate in these.
Diary of a Publisher. Here we don't just talk, we explore, question, and push beyond the ordinary. And if you're ready to see things from a fresh perspective, you're at the right place. Make sure to subscribe. We're just scratching the surface, and the next conversation might just change how you see the world.